Six takeaways from the early start to Big Ten basketball. Thanks to the Big Ten's eagerness to plant a flag in New York, it gifted college basketball fans with the rarest of treats, a sense of how all of the teams of a power conference might handle the rigors of league play. With the Big Ten tournament moved up a week to squeeze into Madison Square Garden, the league needed to find a place to place a couple of rounds of its conference schedule. Rather than have everyone play twice between Christmas and New Year's Day and compress the rest of the schedule, it settled on everyone playing twice in 3 days in early December. Svrluga, Big Ten basketball schedule is all a Manhattan Project tossed in an ACC/Big Ten Challenge game for each school last week, and it meant nearly everyone was playing 3 power conference teams in a span of 7 days. Rutgers and Wisconsin got an 8th day to fit everything in. In turn, there are some early conclusions to draw from an experiment that could be repeated on a regular basis as the Big Ten soon moves to a 20-game league schedule. Michigan State and Purdue, and probably Minnesota, are the league's top tier. To the surprise of absolutely no one, Michigan State is really good. Its only loss came on a neutral floor against Duke, and while it largely punched the clock while beating Rutgers, it had also pummeled North Carolina, Notre Dame and Nebraska in its previous 3 games. It was due a so-so showing. Purdue, which lost Caleb Swanigan but has a lineup with 4 senior starters led by Vince Edwards and Isaac Haas in the post, always seemed like a high-floor team. The Boilermakers beat Louisville, Maryland and Northwestern over a 6-day stretch and are a standard-issue Matt Painter team, better than you think on offense, reliably strong on defense. Minnesota took a pair of losses last week, though falling to Miami with guard Dupree McBrayer on the shelf was no huge concern. The Golden Gophers didn't look great in a loss at Nebraska, but their body of work to this point, victories over Providence and Alabama, and forward Jordan Murphy's early dominance give them a bit of a pass. It looks like a jumble after those 3. Who's the 4th best team in the Big Ten? This question could be pondered deep into the season. Someone will probably emerge from the logjam of teams sporting 1-1 records in conference play, a group that includes Maryland, Michigan, Northwestern and others. None of those options seems especially safe. Maryland blew a 22-point lead at Illinois before surviving in overtime. Michigan wasted a 20-point lead at Ohio State. And Northwestern remained obstinately unpredictable, squeaking past Illinois before pushing Purdue on the road. The 5-4 Wildcats, who reached their first NCAA tournament last season, are the Big Ten's biggest mystery. Terps managed a much-needed win at Illinois, but issues remain. Ohio State had a stellar weekend. But don't jump to any conclusions. Credit where it's due. The Buckeyes played a splendid game and a half, throttling Wisconsin by 25 in Madison and then rallying past Michigan to complete a 2-0 start to the conference schedule. Forward Kata Bates-Diop and freshman center Caleb Wesson are providing strong interior anchors for Chris Holtman's first team in Columbus. But the same Buckeyes squandered a 15-point lead to Butler in the final 4 minutes on the final day of the Phil Knight PK80 Invitational last month and did not play well against Clemson last week. Ohio State, 7-3, still has plenty to improve upon, and facing an offensively potent William and Mary bunch Saturday will be a good gauge of how the Buckeyes can handle success. Maryland's defense needs to improve. According to KenPom.com, the Terrapins were the least efficient defensive team in the Big Ten's 2-game sequence to open conference play. Facing Purdue qualifies as mitigating circumstances, but the Terps also melted away defensively in the second half against Illinois. Perhaps the most striking statistic for any team coming about this stretch was Maryland allowing the Illini to score on all 8 of their overtime possessions, and still coming up with a victory. The Terps played far better defense against Ohio in an 87-62 victory Thursday, holding the Bobcats to just 0.79 of a point per possession. Ohio isn't Ohio State, and, green and white color scheme aside, it sure isn't Michigan State. But Maryland still made some needed progress. More is required before league play resumes next month. This might be the year Wisconsin's NCAA streak ends. Greg Gard's Badgers sit at 4-6, the program's worst start since 2001-2. Bo Ryan's first team in Madison turned things around enough to head into the Big Ten tournament at 18-11 and bag a number 8 seed and a round of 32 result in the NCAA tournament. Wisconsin has reached 19 NCAA tournaments in a row, a streak spanning 4 coaches, 2 centuries and 1 singular commitment to defense. The defense is improving, though it was shredded against Ohio State, but the offense is still finding itself. Maybe this turns out to be like 2 years ago, when Ryan retired in December in the midst of a challenging start as the Badgers faced the start of the post-Frank Kaminsky era. That team also had Nigel Hayes and Bronson Koenig, to go with a promising freshman center named Ethan Happ. Hayes and Koenig are gone now, and it'll be up to Happ to help spark a turnaround starting with Saturday's date with Marquette. Iowa's in trouble. 3 teams went winless in the opening 2 games of league play. Rutgers is in a rebuild, and it also got stuck playing Minnesota and Michigan State. Illinois is in its first year under Brad Underwood, and it could easily have come out of its games against Northwestern and Maryland 2-0. That leaves Iowa, 4-6, which did not get a brutal draw, Penn State and Indiana, but continues to show little regard for defense. This isn't much different from last year, but the Hawkeyes had a senior star in Peter Jok who helped hold things together. Now, the bulk of the rotation is composed of freshmen and sophomores, and Iowa's offense hasn't been good enough to overcome its defensive shortcomings. The Hawkeyes have dropped 6 of 7 after Thursday's loss at Iowa State. Iowa turned things around after a 3-5 start last year to at least get within shouting distance of the NCAA tournament discussion. Doing so again looks like an even greater challenge. More college basketball. Maryland rolls past Ohio, but Bruno Fernando's injury is a major concern. LaVar Ball says his younger sons have signed with an agent, will play overseas. Feinstein, college basketball needs more local rivalries, even if they sometimes boil over. Steinberg, he was the man. Shaka Smart returns to VCU for love, hugs, and a victory.